Further clerks also of the two houses went forward now to receive these responses. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Article 118 of the Constitution, Section 6.3 of the Public Appointments, Standing Order 45.3 of the National Standing Orders, the clerks of the two houses, by way of advertisement, also in Mr. Speaker, the committee to conduct public approvals. Mr. Speaker, it is important for the public to know, and even for this House, that public participation is no longer an optional, it is mandatory also. And that is why the Constitution of the Republic and Article 118 comes to play here, so that we also get to know from the public what they think of a nominee, whether CS, whether PS, and even for the case of the IG. Mr. Speaker, the committee conducted approval hearings on 15th of August, that is Thursday. In conducting the approvals hearing, the committee were guided by the provisions of the Constitution, the Public Appointments, Parliamentary Approvals Act, the National Public Service, the National Police Public Service, the National Assembly Standing Orders, and the Senate Standing Orders. So, Mr. Speaker, those are the legal provisions that guided the committee, the joint committee, during the approval hearings. Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the report of this joint committee, it is well detailed. Every aspect of what transpired during the approval hearings, Mr. Speaker, are captured very well in this particular report, which is detailed. That is, Mr. Speaker, Chapter 3 of the report, from paragraph 36 all the way. If you want to know what transpired, the responses by the nominee is mindset on the issues that are pertinent in his leadership, if approved, are captured in Chapter 3 of the report. So in the interest of time, I would like just to request my colleagues, as you go through this, refer to Chapter 3, and you will see all what transpired. And I think I will stop at that. So I will, Mr. Speaker, go to committee's observations based on the approval hearings. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that a total of 30 memorandums were received with regard to the suitability of the nominee. Mr. Speaker, memorandums from the public must fulfill certain requirements. It should be supported by an affidavit and the evidence, and that is something that is mandatory also. So out of the 30, two only fulfill the requirements of the law. It had an affidavit in support and evidence, Mr. Speaker. The issues raised in the two memorandums, Mr. Speaker, contesting the suitability of the nominee was sufficiently and satisfactorily addressed by the nominee and do not provide sufficient evidence to warrant the disqualification of the nominee for appointment to the position of IG. Again, Mr. Speaker, the full details of those issues raised by the complaints and the response by the nominee, and also the analysis by the committee as to whether those two complaints really can stop the the vetting of the nominee. Mr. Speaker, the other observation the committee also made is that the nominee fulfilled the provisions of Article 78, Sub-Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution for appointment, since he is a Kenyan citizen and does not hold a dual citizenship. That's a very, very critical point, Mr. Speaker. A person serving as an IG must not hold two citizenship. It should be only one in the country. And Mr. Speaker, that was also fulfilled. Another observation, Mr. Speaker, is that the nominee holds a degree and as required by the provisions of Section 11(1) and of the National Police Service. So, Speaker, it is important to note that the Kenya of the nominee, and we were satisfied as a committee that, Mr. Speaker, under observation number 10D, he had that particular provision of that degree. The nominee meets the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity, having obtained the clearance from the institutions I spoke about, that is EACC, you talk about KRA, and all the other institutions, Mr. Speaker. The committee was satisfied that indeed the nominee fulfills requirements of Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity of topical, administrative, technical issues relating to governance and the requisite abilities, qualifications, experience to serve. Mr. Speaker, I participated in vetting the immediate former IG. And as we all do this, Mr. Speaker, this nominee promises heaven for the Kenyan people. Available, they will be available. They will be hands-on. They will be able to visit the ground. They will be able to respond. And Mr. Speaker, we took time as a house, as a committee, to inquire from the nominee if indeed he will be one of those people who will just come and make some public pronouncements, which later, immediately appointed, they forget about. Mr. Speaker, this is the nominee rose from the ranks of a corporal, and he has served this country as a police officer, Mr. Speaker, for 39 years, rising through the ranks. Mr. Speaker, he has served in almost every part of the country, in various positions. Mr. Speaker, he assured the committee and the public that Mr. Speaker is going to ensure that he will fulfill the promises he gave to the committee. Mr. Speaker, there are about two issues I will just mention so that I stop. Mr. Speaker, the issue of North Rift, 7 counties, department, concern, if approved by this House, deployment of enough NPR, the deployment of more security forces. He was able to address the issue of the extrajudicial killings, which Kenyans still feel it exists, but he affirmed to the committee, Mr. Speaker, that is something which is going to work on it. Mr. Speaker, issues concerning the robberies going on in our cities and so on. Matters, Mr. Speaker, regarding the welfare of the members, housing, insurance, and so on. So, Mr. Speaker, if because of time, I will refer members to the report because it has all those issues. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that based on the observations made, the committee recommends that the House approves that Mr. Douglas Kancha Kirocho, CBS, OEW, for appointment as the Inspector General of Police Service. Mr. Speaker, I want to end there and request my brother Mungatana to also briefly second this motion so that member before the House. So I want to request Mungatana to Second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To thank the Honorable William Cheptumo, our Chairman for Internal Security Committee and Foreign Affairs, and Gabriel Tongoyo, his counterpart in the National Assembly, for the good work they have done in preparing this report. Mr. Speaker, in seconding the appointment of Mr. Douglas Kanja, I wanted to, a lot is going to be said in this House, his many years in service, and not to stop from where he started. Mr. Speaker, we are not saying anything bad about the previous, especially when we were having challenges in the city and other places. This is the plan the police have. This is what we expect those who want, for example, to express their opinions, where they need to go, what they need to do. This is the way we are going to handle this matter. Mr. Speaker, we want proper communication. Mr. Speaker, I have sat in this House and spoken about the responsibility to speak to Kenyans. When we were approving here Dr. Patrick Amoth, I stood here in this House, Mr. Speaker, and I said, depending on MPOX, we want the officials of government to speak with authority on these matters. And Mr. Speaker, I was so gratified yesterday when I saw this new Director of Public Health speaking with authority on the question of MPOX. That is not a matter of the PS. That is not a matter of the minister. That is a matter of an official who is technical in the ministry to speak to us with authority so that we are not exposed to the knowledge, half knowledge and quarter knowledge of bloggers, Mr. Speaker, and then they circulate it as the truth. We want the new Inspector General of Police to be addressing that. Mr. Speaker, the minister has his place. They are going to Baringo and what and what. He is a policy man. How many people have you deployed? How much money are you using for the operations? We want people who are holding public offices to speak with the authority of that office so that Kenyans can get the value for money. When there is a gap, Mr. Speaker, we have problems. We have rumors. We have false information. For example, Mr. Speaker, when we had the recent demonstrations that happened, it was the responsibility of the Inspector General of Police to come and say that this is what transpired. The estimated value of property lost is this. We lost some people as police officers, and this is the number that we lost. And the public also, condolences, we lost, and this is the number. You speak with authority and impartially. But people are involved. We want this official position without fearing the political, because with us we will never be satisfied with what we do. There'll be those who will be telling you what you're doing is rubbish, and there'll be those who will be telling you what you're doing is good. But what you need to come out to do is to tell us impartial position. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak about the question of his responsibilities. If you look at the Police Act, Mr. Speaker, Cap 84, one of the things he is supposed to do is to establish broader relationship with the society. Mr. Speaker, I was going to request Mr. Kanja, because we are approving him as the new Inspector General, that he must come out and set a certain legacy around him, that in his time, the Kenya did not change to become a police force. We should be able to have that confidence as Kenyans, not to run away from police officers when we see them, but to be able to approach them and speak to them. Mr. Speaker, when I'm saying this because for us who come from the outer parts of this nation, the counties which are out there, you will find the relationship in some parts, and I'm not saying in all parts, in some parts, When children see the police, they run away because of the fear that police have installed and bestowed upon the people. May you come out as the Inspector General of Police who set up a new standard that the police officers them with confidence like they do in other parts of the world, that we are able to talk to them and speak to them. I don't need to be a member of parliament, a member of county assembly, a member of the executive, or any person in government for you to listen to me. Any person, Mr. Speaker, should be able to be heard. We want to see the images of police officers helping the disabled people cross the roads. We want to see police officers being on the first line. When we call you, you don't tell us you don't have fuel. Mr. Speaker, one of the first things the president did when he got sworn into office, he said that he's going to give the Inspector General of Police full authority to spend the money. So now you have no reason for you to tell us you do not have fuel when emergencies occur. And in particular for counties which are outside towns, because this is where we need a lot of emergency response. Mr. Speaker, as I second this motion, I would like to request that he should not be an Inspector General who stays in Nairobi. We want him to come to these areas where there have been security issues. We want to see him there, and we want to see you talking when you are there, telling people what the government is doing. And because you are an AIE holder, you should tell us how much money you are allocating, say, to Tana River for operations. How many police stations are you opening in our counties, especially the ones that have. And I'm not speaking only about my county, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking across the nation. Tell us how much money you are allocating. What is your strategic plan for operations in these counties? We should not be hearing only of the police when we have seen people die, or when there are accidents, when there are attacks. Come out and tell us this is the plan, this is how we are executing. You should be part and parcel of our lives, because security is our life also. We see you. We want you to stations. This is what we are doing, so that we walk with you. Mr. Speaker, I really want to commend to this Senate and even effectively the Republic of Kenya, this new officer who has served for so many years, 39 years, with distinction. So we ask that we support him, and I beg to second this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mundege, have a seat. Honorable senators will now proceed to propose the question. The Senate adopt the joint report of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs of the National Assembly and the Senate on Monday, the 19th of August, 2024. And pursuant to Article 245, 2A of the Constitution, Section 12 of the National Police Service Act, Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, and Standing Order 77 of the Senate approved the nomination of Mr. Douglas Kanja Kirocho for appointment to the position of Inspector General of the National Police Service. Now the floor is open. Yes, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance to Standing Order number 111, rise to, and this is after consultation with the leader of minority. Mr. Speaker, you understand the kind of schedule we have today. We have an impeachment hearing. Yesterday we left here at midnight, and with the assembly only having presented their side. Today we have the defense, and we consulted with the leader of a minority, and have agreed that let us have 4 representing the agenda that is ahead of us. Therefore, that's a request I'd wish to make. I request the leader of minority to second.
Minority Leader, can you confirm that that is the position?
Yes, I do.
Very well. So we will take 5 From its side, it's speaking for 5 minutes. Senator Wambua Kiyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to support the report of the committee on the recommendation for the appointment of Douglas Kanja Kirecho, CDS OGW, as the inspector, as we wish Douglas Kanja, that Mr. Speaker, following the enactment of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the police force then was changed into a service. And the service, under that service, Mr. Speaker, is when we created the office of the Inspector General of Police. Mr. Speaker, from Article 243 of the Constitution up to Article 245 of the Constitution, detailing the establishment of the office, the functions of the office, and the service command. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by saying that Mr. Kanja is taking office at a very critical moment in the history. At a time, Mr. Speaker, that this country has endured the greatest levels of police brutality. Mr. Speaker, Kanja is coming into office when the police service, in the eyes of almost every Kenyan, is known for two things. One, brutality, and two, corruption. And yet, Mr. Speaker, Article 244 of the Constitution, under the functions of the service, I took time to go through that article, Mr. Speaker, and I cannot locate the Kenya Police Service under the provisions of article. That article says that the Speaker, that is wanting in the service. It says that the service is supposed to prevent corruption and act transparently and pursue accountability. I cannot locate that in the service. It says that the service is supposed to protect human rights and fundamental freedoms. The Speaker, that is lacking in the service. It says that the service should promote relationship with the broader society. That also is lacking in the service. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to Senator Mugatana seconding the motion, and he spoke from my mouth that, Mr. Speaker, a time has come that perhaps the head of the police service must work extra hours to change the face of the police service. Needs help, and they see a police officer on the streets, they run to the officer because the officer will provide help at the time of need. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, if you are lost in the streets of Nairobi and you see a police officer, it will be very difficult to approach them for help, because probably what may happen is that they may mislead you or even arrest you, Mr. Speaker, and they might even charge you, threaten to charge you with loitering with bad intent. Mr. Speaker, this service must be reclaimed. The glory of this service must be reclaimed. Mr. Speaker, the IG...
Conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, the IG is coming into office at a time that there is need for him to exercise full independence
evidence as provided for in Article 245 of the Constitution. These abductions, these police officers hooded, hiding behind hoods, Mr. Speaker, he must deal with those people. And this is why, lastly, as I conclude, he is coming to office on a day that Maina Wajigi has been arrested for reasons that we don't even understand. Mr. Speaker, that belongs to the past, that must stop. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to rise to support this motion. Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank the committees, both committees of the two houses and the chairs, my friend Chair Cheptumo and Chair Tongoyo. Honorable Speaker, our Kanja Kirochi has done a very good job for this country for the last 39 years. He started with a police constable, as a police constable, and he rose through ranks of, from a corporal to Assistant Inspector General of Police, Senior Assistant Inspector General of Police, and now nominee for Inspector General of Police. Honorable Speaker, I want to also take this opportunity to, Honorable Speaker, when he was being vetted, his assets were, as he has indicated, is 46 million shillings. Honorable Speaker, if you look at, he has worked for this country, he was getting 98,290 every month. Some of the CSS, the 2 years they worked in this government, were earning, or if you look at the asset, were 8,333,000 every month. Honorable Speaker, looking at 39 years of service as a police officer, starting with the rank of a police constable, and he got an asset of 46 million. That is really commendable. Honorable Speaker, having said that, some people are talking about police officers being cruel. I think the problem we have in this country is the police officers are being underpaid. Honorable Speaker, what I would want to ask Mr. Kanja to do immediately, Honorable Speaker, the way these police officers live, how do you expect a police officer to work the whole day and going back to those kind of houses? That is terrible. I wanted, if possible, Honorable Speaker, I went to Ileret, my county, one time, and I visited police post and police station. And the way they live, those houses were built in 1950s. And I would want Kanja to visit Ileret and to let him see how people live in Ileret and many police stations. Honorable Speaker, the other issue I want to raise with Kanja, if he is approved, is the issue of Koreans, missionaries, 2 Korean missionaries who were abducted last week. He must visit Moyale. His Honorable Speaker is into Ethiopia, into Kenya, mainly around Anona, Elebor, and around several areas. Honorable Speaker, our people have suffered. There are IDPs in Sololo as we speak because of the issues we have from the Ethiopian military. The other issue is the issue of NPR. I want Kanja to visit Marsabit, to visit Samburu, visit Garissa, Mandera, Turkana, and Pokot to address the issue of NPRs. We have a lot of shortages on that side. Finally, Honorable Speaker, there are barriers on this road from Moyale to Isiolo. We have got 18 police barriers. I want Honorable Kanja to address the issue of all these barriers. What are these barriers for? Why do we keep police barriers? They can do patrols.
Senator Crystal Asige.
Thank you, Speaker, for allowing me to also contribute to this motion with regards to the new appointment of our Inspector General of the National Police Service. Speaker, my contribution will be very brief and to the point. I am standing here still extremely hurt and disappointed as to how Kenya has been portrayed and the suffering and the killings and pain that we have seen over the past 2 months, especially, Speaker. We sat here 2 years ago and vetted and appointed the former IG, who in its National Police Service. And I say that honestly and sincerely, Speaker. With this new IG appointment, 39 years of a career will do it for me. I don't think that a CV really tells what somebody is, his or her morals, and what they intend to do once they get into a position. A CV is just a piece of paper, Mr. Speaker. And an interview process, anyone can speak and have the gift of the gab, as they call it, and woo the entire committee. But frankly, to me, Speaker, the proof will be in the pudding. The proof will be in what he does in his first 100 days, in his first year, in his first day in office, Speaker. That will be what will determine the intention of this new IG and where he would like to take the National Police Service. Speaker, 2 months later, we still have conflicting police reports, and I wish that this be his first order of business. Conflicting reports on how the mortuary, we have over 240 unidentified bodies sitting, lying, and with no clue of where they came from. Some of them have been changed in terms of they've been picked up in one location, and you go to the morgue and you see that they have a tag saying another location for another crime or another accident. Mr. Speaker, it's an absolute mess. And I wish that this become his first order of business and become his priority if and when he gets into office. Mr. Speaker, 2 months later still, we still have bodies, like I said, unidentified. We have abductions still going on, with the most former that has gone viral on the internet being of a popular blogger named Maverick Auko, just released yesterday. Mr. Speaker, 2 months later, we still have families who are their family members, their loved ones.
Point of order, Senator Mandago.
Abducted. There's a difference between police arrest and being abducted. I think it is time that we also set record straight that the police must be left to do their work. That is the reason why.
Order, Senator Mazai.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, you must protect me, because I get surprised when senior counsel like Omogen, who was in this house and passed the Cybercrime Act, would want to guard the police from doing their work. Can Senator Asige substantiate an allegation of abduction? Otherwise, she should withdraw the statement and apologize to the police of this country.
Senator Crystal Asige, you have made a very heavy statement that a blogger was abducted. Are you in a position to substantiate that claim? If not, then you may proceed to withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, as I was contributing, perhaps a good senator from Wasingishu didn't hear me correctly. What I said was that on social media there are reports of a blogger who has been abducted. I did not say, Speaker, anything else apart from that. Speaker, I'll continue. What I was trying to continue to say is that there are still families who are also left in the dark.
Senator Crystal Asige, you've said abductions are still going on. I heard you correctly. Right. Abductions don't happen in social media.
Speaker, the reports that are coming from social media.
Social media may not be the correct.
These
Honorable
reports.
Senator's order. Did you verify the information you got from the social media, Senator Crystal Asige?
Speaker, I was continuing to say that I'm hoping that the new IG will take it upon himself to prioritize things, and he can do his job in informing the country of the true position of what. Speaker, families should also be given information about their whereabouts of their loved ones who are still missing, who are still seeking for answers to questions that they've been having over several months now, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say that I hope that the new IG will take note of the court ruling that has pronounced itself in our streets, Speaker. I hope that this will also be rectified through his tenure when he reaches the office that he is going to assume soon, Speaker, because these kinds of things cannot continue in a republic of Kenya. We are not a banana republic, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that this is definitely prioritized by the new IG. Mr. Speaker, I hope that he works to follow the law, not work to follow anyone else's orders or anyone else's opinions or anyone else's way of doing business, Speaker, is what I'm saying. The law is clear and it's very concise, and he needs to, hopefully, I want to believe that he will be following it.
Senator Sik.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much for this opportunity that you've given me also to come to support this motion and take the floor to speak much more about the nominee IG, Douglas Kancha. At this opportunity when the country really want to have the IG at the moment. Honorable Speaker, I happen to be in the Committee of National Security in the Senate Joint Committee with National Assembly, and we had an interactive session with the nominee, and we realized that the experience the nominee has and has worked in this country is quite enormous, and we were a bit impressed, and we really brought this to the limelight of the entire country that this is the right nominee, somebody who have come from the constable to the position of the Deputy Inspector General of Police. This is enormous. This is something that we really encourage. We thank God that we can really still have officers who can work through ranks, different ranks, without even going to a different rank. He went through all the ranks, from the first rank of the or corporal to the Director General of Police. Honorable Speaker, this motivates the entire service for them to understand that somebody can rise from the constable position or even from constable to the IG position. So this brought to the experiences of this our live, and we broadcasted all this throughout the entire country. He promised to deal with issues of corruption, particularly on the issue of traffic, where we realize that there is a big issue and a big gap in this country. He also promised that he will look at the issues of deployment of staff on areas of that are shortages, and try to bring some staffing issues within the force and even discipline within the force. These are the issues that he could really brought to the committee and to the Kenyans when he was being vetted by our Committee of National Security. Honorable Speaker, I want to request that as we continue to approve this nomination of this officer, Douglas Kancha, I request that the nominee would really observe and address a few issues that really were coming very strongly during the interview, and to the members of the committees and to also to the public, because we received quite a number of memoranda through public participations and all that. And I really request that the nominee address the issue of vehicles, shortage of police vehicles. We realize that a number of stations, police stations, has no vehicles. If there is no vehicle, then there is no fuel, there is no transport, there is no supervision, there is no security, there is a highly shortage of security. The issue of houses in this country for police is something that really, it's something that has been a big problem. Most of our police are also staying at this Viosk. Most of them stays at, shanty areas, and even, it's horrible. It's a horrible situation for the police, police service. Honorable Speaker, I also want the nominee to address the issue of border points, particularly on areas of, these border points where, like in Kajiado, we have a big problem where the Tanzania authorities are really threatening members of this country. They are abducting, they are arresting, they take our...
Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take this opportunity to contribute to this very, very important matter. Mr. Speaker, the selection, nomination, maybe appointment of the Inspector General of Police is one of the major positions that in our country is highly regarded and respected. Mr. Speaker, the feeling I have is that in our republic, even when as a country we have done exceptionally well when it came to performing internationally. And Mr. Speaker, because of the institutional memory, many of my friends here may not know that or remember that Kenya is actually the country that provided security teams from the Kenyan Police Service to go to Namibia to set up their police system after their independence. Kenya did the same in Zimbabwe. Kenya did the same in Rwanda. And right now, Kenya is in Haiti. Internationally, we've kept a highly respectful kind of engagement, and people have known us as a country that believes in the rule of law and a country that has performed quite reasonably well when it came to our police service. But then, Mr. Speaker, one of the things that I have observed, and I happen to be very lucky because I've been around for quite a while, the police service that we have right now is actually dysfunctional. One of the issues that I would like to raise, and my colleagues and friends here have raised this issue, Mr. Speaker, is that you can't have a police officer who stays in a mud hut with him and his colleagues. Even we can't have a police service, Mr. Speaker, where a police officer sometimes is transferred unilaterally because he has annoyed some big person somewhere where their rights are violated. We can't have a police service where I keep talking about their salary for obvious reasons, because I would spend most probably a whole day discussing how we have different events that you saw happen. My colleagues have talked about right now. A gentleman called Jimmy, he was screaming, saying, oh my God, he was screaming, saying, oh my God, Mr. Speaker, what is going to happen to me? These people came at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mr.
Mr. Speaker, I stand under standing order 101 and 1. Me, I'm a dry Kalenjin man who was circumcised in 3 a.m. in the morning. Is it in order for the senator of Kisii to insinuate I was crying. In fact, I was arrested naked, but I have never cried about it, Mr. Speaker. Can he apologize to me and the great men of Nandi and the people of Nandi, Mr. Speaker, in the... claim that I was yelling. How can a man yell? How can a man yell?
Asking for his gods to excuse him, and when I asked him what was the problem, yes. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kongo Mogeni would like...
I have not given the permission. So upon our return, because
yes,
we'll proceed on recess today. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to say that I plead with the new Inspector General of Police to make sure that to look at several issues, but I want to plead with this House and the National Assembly for the police service to perform. They have always saying from the police service during the Shakahola hearings, and Mr. Speaker, our forensic labs hardly work. The police vehicles don't have fuel. You find that the police officers don't even have insurance for them. Necessary funding. Make sure that this aspect of corruption and aspects of roadblocks being stationed everywhere on our roads, I think it needs to be rationalized. And to finish, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that I hope that Mr. Kanja will do an excellent job, make sure that this House interfaces with him, because we are the ones who will be oversighting him. I believe they will be able to manage this office, and I hope that my colleagues in this House will be open enough for us to make sure that we begin to change our...
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Bwana Spika, kimbizwa na kuibiwa na hawa wezi wa mifugo, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, ningemuuliza Jenerali wa polisi atakapoingia, Bwana Spika, azingatie na aweze kukubalia tuweze kuongeza hawa askari wetu wa ziada, kwa Kiingereza wanaitwa NPR, Bwana Spika. Kwa sababu hawa ndio askari wanapaswa waangaliwe na washughulikiwe, kwa sababu wakati mwingi Bwana Spika wanapouawa unapata ya kwamba hawasa ya magonjwa, Bwana Spika, nafasi ya magonjwa, Bwana Spika, na familia zao, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nimefurahi kuona ya kwamba nikiangaliwe kwa kiasi cha haja, Bwana Spika. Angaliwe kwa kiasi cha haja, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, sehemu ambazo zingine ambazo tungependa kumwambia Bwana Spika anapoingia, ukiangalia Bwana Spika bonde la Ufa, unapata ya kwamba na maafisa wale wengine maafisa wa ujasusi, maafisa wa jeshi ndio waweze kuwanyang'anya wale watu walio na bunduki kinyume cha sheria, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu hizi bunduki ndizo zinahangaisha watu wengi wanaoishi katika sehemu hizo, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, Laikipia ukitembea kama pahali kunaitwa Ormora, tuna shida hii ya usalama, hata mahali kunaitwa Yedhi, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo ninafahamu na ninajua kwamba kwa sababu huyu afisa ni mtu aliyebombea katika kazi refu, Bwana Spika, ninajua ataweza kuifanya kwa ujasiri na bila kuogopa chochote, Bwana Spika. Jambo la gaidi, Bwana Spika, na kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe anaonekana aliongoza katika ile operationi ya fagia boni, Bwana Spika, ninajua yeye ataweza kusaidia hata zaidi, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, tumekuwa na shida ya pombe katika wengine wa polisi, Bwana Spika, wao wenyewe. Sisi tulitoa mwongozo hapa, Bwana Spika, na tukasema ya kwamba wale ambao waliuawa, Bwana Spika, wanapaswa kufidiwa na serikali, Bwana Spika. Huyu afisa, na kwa sababu ni mtu aliye na uzoefu, tukiangalia katika historia yake ni mtu aliye na uzoefu, sina shaka mimi namtakia kila laheri katika jukumu hili mpya alilopewa, Bwana Spika, la kuongoza askari wetu, na sema asante.
Senator Kawira Mwangaza.
The joint committees, as we support his appointment, I would want to send a message that when we passed the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the police continues to be a force rather than a service. My plea to the first IG to make a serious attempt to implement the police as a service. And I believe if you implement the police, this will benefit everybody in the country. It will benefit communities, it will benefit families, it will benefit the government, and we will be a better off IG must pay attention to. Mr. Speaker, we have so many cases of lost children in this country. Every so often you hear this child is being looked for, this child has disappeared, this child has died. I want to ask that the police invest more time in trying to deal with child trafficking in this country so that we deal with that menace. Mr. Speaker, I also want to request that the IG collaborate better with other departments. Between 2016 and 2023, we have defilements. Do we have a similar number of prosecutions in our courts? No, we don't have it, because these cases are not prosecuted, are not followed, because the provincial administration said from sexual new practice in the police, where they are mimicking the persons who have made political speeches. Recently, Commissioner, when he tried to get to ask for his rights, they actually then...
Senator Muma, your time is up. Just wind up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let me kick off by thanking the both combined committee of the Senate and the Parliament. I have the privilege of knowing Kanja since I was a young boy, and I know his commitment, his dedication, his journey in the police force has been, indeed, he has what it takes. Indeed, he has what it takes to take the police force to the next level. Mr. Speaker, sir, we know we've come from an age where we've been confronted. My prayer is to promote, and most importantly, to ensure that the safety and the security of Kenyans is guaranteed. Mr. Speaker, sir, we came some times back with the initiative of the Nyumba Kumi. This was a noble concept that has not taken deep root because it has lacked support from the structural and the structured forces. Mr. Speaker, sir, my request to the new IG is to leverage the Nyumba Kumi initiative, ensure that services would require that we Kenyan citizens also change our approach in the way we do things. It is a high time, Mr. Speaker, sir, we stop looking at police forces as our adversaries, but look at them as our partners so that we can be able, otherwise, are conducted among the citizens. It is our sons, it is our daughters, it is our fathers and our mothers who commit these crimes. Mr. Speaker, sir, having lived for over 20 years in a country, in a European country, I saw that people do take a very active role in reporting incidences to the police. Indeed, if you were to do this, Mr. Speaker, the welfare of not only the police, but the welfare and the security of every Kenyan. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also important we recall the slogan of the police, utumishi kwa wote. However, Mr. Speaker, we as the legislatures, we must also enhance the budget that is allocated to the police services, as has been mentioned by my colleagues, so that we ensure they have decent houses. We are very, very proud because they've been able to bring some sanity. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is this dedication, the utumishi kwa wote, in a generation that is getting ever younger. It is the high time that we look at leveraging the technology. Thank you.
Senator Mogeni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the police respect to the provisions of Article 244 of the Constitution, we need to restore public confidence on our police being a police service and not a terrorist unit. Mr. Speaker, I've just, Honorable Keter, the way they did, coming from church with his wife and child, and is picked like terrorists arresting somebody, Mr. Speaker. How does the international community look at us, Mr. Speaker, when we raid the house of a former president, damages property? No, it's not right, Mr. Speaker. We must say these things because it's affecting our image out there, Mr. Speaker. Why should the police arrest people with hooded, hiding their faces? Are they thugs? Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I want Kenyans to be arrested the way Senator Madago was arrested. The police approached him and said, "Sir, could we kindly arrest you?" Mr. Speaker, that's how they want it to be done. Not the way they picked Senator Cherage on a Friday. He was put in a corridor with grills, Mr. Speaker, the whole weekend. That's not right. This lady you call Scoffy Naoko, Mr. Speaker, arrested and she made a false publication of information contrary to Section 23 of the Computer and Cyber Crimes Act. A very small offense. Arrested and denied access to a lawyer, only to be presented to court yesterday and given a cash bail of 20,000. We don't want this kind of the police being used to do malicious prosecution. And I'm sure even Senator Cherage, in the fullness of time, he will be a free citizen, Mr. Speaker. So we want, Mr. Speaker, our police on the road. The police officers have put up toll stations, collecting money from Kenyans who are honestly trying to make a living from doing matatu business. It's not right, Mr. Speaker. And the Kenyans, when they enacted this constitution, they put it in Article 244 that the police should, as a country, Mr. Speaker. So he should take office knowing that two of his predecessors resigned out of office. We don't want that demon to follow him. Let him serve Kenyans, respect the constitution, respect human rights, and he leaves a mark, Mr. Speaker. Constitution that put in place a police service that is there.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I know I have 2 minutes, but I want to spend them very, very quickly. In 2.5 minutes, I'll say what I need to say, then I'll donate the rest of it. If you drive from a place called Total to Kaplu, Mr. Kanja, that the only reason I'm giving you a vote this afternoon on behalf of the people of the Kericho is with the assurance that institution, those who are inciting people to violence, Mr. Speaker, that those people 2 weeks down the line are in jail already. We need to see that level of efficiency, Mr. Speaker, between the police and the judiciary so that we don't discuss these small issues like the state of arrest or the modus operandi of police while effecting arrest, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, it is my sincere hope that IG Kanja will infuse the level of professionalism that Kenyans are yearning for, Mr. Speaker, into the police service. With those...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your indulgence, I want to support this report of that the Committee of National Security, Mr. Speaker. As a guest of most of the police stations, Mr. Speaker, I have slept. It is not only in your county, Kilifi, that I have not slept in that police station, but I hope soon too, in good faith, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say there are many challenges with the police. 2 things I'll mention in quick succession is one, those police stations, Mr. Speaker, when you are arrested and taken to the cell, the last time those police cells were painted was in 1980, Mr. Speaker. When you go, the toilets, Mr. Speaker, are pathetic. I slept on the corridor on Gigiri, which is supposed to be the prestigious police station in this republic, for 3 days. And Senator Okongo Mugeni visited me, Mr. Speaker. Removed my dignity, Mr. Speaker. We want the police under Article 245 to do their job with professionalism, Mr. Speaker. How can you explain police are depressed? Police are killing each other, Mr. Speaker. If you leave your wife and go to night patrol, the other police might patrol your wife at night, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must give dignity. And I want to challenge the man from Biriri, Inspector General nominee DIG Kanja, the man from Biriri village, to talk with the president and do affordable housing program across all police stations, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that the issue of body cameras is being introduced to monitor crime and ensure the police are held accountable to the highest police standards across the world, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, is in the police uniform. What happened to the blue police uniform? Nowadays, you get police that are donning green camouflage. Everybody, from DIG, IG to everybody, Mr. Speaker. The issue of police uniform must be sorted out to avoid confusion, Mr. Speaker. Finally, on the financial autonomy, Mr. Speaker, we must agree that the fact that Inspector General of Police is given financial autonomy, Mr. Speaker, it should be reflected, Mr. Speaker. I want to agree with Majority Leader on police stops, Mr. Speaker. When you go to Kapsabet, when you are coming from Kisumu, Mr. Speaker, coming from Eldoret at the airport, at Matunda, Mr. Speaker, there are so many road police blocks, Mr. Speaker, that you are not told what these toll stations are about, Mr. Speaker. We want to see professionalism. I saw Senator Onyonga, Mr. Speaker. You remember when he was the MP, there were allegations that he bought sugar through CDF, DPS deals through CDF, Mr. Speaker. When police were looking for him, how could they have done, Mr. Speaker? If, for example, Jimmy Wanjigi, Mr. Speaker, would have summoned himself, Mr. Speaker.
Because I said he was running and crying like a baby. The point of order is that unless you have a
Senator Fernandez. Senator Onyonka, just take your seat.
Thank you.
Senator Gidugu, 2 minutes and we wind up this so that I put the question.
I say allegations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order, Senator Fernandez. Order, Senator Fernandez.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute into this very important approval motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was privileged to be among the people that vetted the Inspector General of Police. Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm to this House that the Inspector General, Mr. Speaker, demonstrated a wide range of experience for 39 years, Mr. Speaker, and the committee, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of insecurity. Mr. Speaker, I was very much concerned about the issues of insecurity, how he would handle the issues of insecurity, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, he was very, very eloquent in terms of elaborating on how he's going to handle the issues of insecurities in counties and to the people that are in close proximity to Somalia border. Mr. Speaker, he had an experience in terms of handling the insecurity in the counties that are in proximity to Somalia borders, having worked in Lamu, county that I come from, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I was convinced that he will handle the insecurity issues in those areas. Mr. Speaker, finally, on the issues of demonstration, he was able to demonstrate very clearly that he is going to handle the issues of demonstrations in terms of seeing to it that the law is followed to the letter. I would to see to it that, Mr. Speaker, we are of our police officers. Mr. Speaker, the police officers are people with families. Mr. Speaker, they need a proper working condition, Mr. Speaker, so that they may feel that this country, Mr. Speaker, or the government is looking upon their families, as well as, Mr. Speaker, seeing to it that their stipend is taken care of, Mr. Speaker, so that they can be given some morale so that they can be able to work and serve the people of this country, Mr. Speaker, effectively. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Security, to proceed and reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm happy that the actually issue of improved communication of the police, improved relationship between the public and the police service, matters touching on implementation of Article 245 of the Constitution, issues of roadblocks, issues of general welfare of the police officers. Mr. Speaker, these are the issues that the honorable members have been able to raise. Mr. Speaker, when we had the nominee before the committee, all these issues, actually almost all of them, Mr. Speaker, were raised. And I want to say that if you want to know the way the IG thinks about these issues, refer to the report that we have been able to table in this House. Mr. Speaker, I wish therefore to say that this is the day and the time for us as a House to make a decision and give our approval for the member.
Now, honorable senators, I'll proceed to put the question. That the Senate adopts the joint report of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs of the National Assembly and the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations of the Senate on the approval hearing for the nominee to the position of Inspector General of the National Police Service, laid on the table of the Senate on Monday, the 19th of August, 2024, and pursuant to Article 245 to Inspector General of the National Police Service. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 3, hearing and determination on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, Governor of Meru County.
Do we have the parties in the House? Secretariat? Clerk? Do we have the parties in the chamber? Now, honorable senators, yesterday we had the case of the County Assembly, and today we are going to hear the case of the Governor of Meru County. I'm informed that at the adjournment of the House yesterday, that is to seek clarifications from the Council of the County Assembly. Now, the system is not helping today. I'm unable to look from my dashboard to get to know who intended to seek any further clarification for the Council. And therefore, yes, Senator Fernandi, what is your issue?
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope the PSC Commissioner, Senator Kinyo, is noticing also we need welfare like police. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we wanted to seek further clarification from the Council of the County Assembly. I remember the first witness was being stood down, and some of us wanted to seek further clarification. Would it be in order to proceed?
We will proceed to seek clarification from the Council of the County Assembly.
Okay. Thank you.
For half an hour. So at exactly 11:34, we should embark on the case of the county governor.
Mr. Speaker, through you, yesterday I wanted to know from the pleadings that the County Assembly, through their council, led by Mr. Ndegwa, which of course, one of the issues I wanted to know in the pleadings, it was never indicated whether an invitation to the governor of Meru was sent out at the County Assembly of Meru. So I would want to know whether there is a proof to Ndegwa and the team, the youthful councils, could provide. Mr. Speaker, the second point is whether the councils, in case the governor was invited to appear before the County Assembly, whether there were any communication to that effect, where she got the receipt of that appearance, and whether it was confirmed. Mr. Speaker, finally, to the councils of the County Assembly through you, whether there is any evidence that was tabled before the Meru County Assembly to challenge the motion of impeachment because that is where the charges are aired, and Senate is either to upheld or not the charges that have been done at the County Assembly, whether there is any evidence to challenge, whether there was an evidence to challenge the motion of impeachment against Meru Governor at the County Assembly. So, Speaker, and finally, there was an argument over the Office of the Auditor General report, where that the fact that the OAG has generated a report, the Office of the Auditor General, can it be quoted as a legal document, or can it be used persuasive in any of the pleadings or any case that is before the House? So I would want to know the opinion of Mr. Ndegwa and the County Assembly and the Youthful Council, whether that one can be taken into consideration. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Speaker, sir. The honorable senators. The appearance is as before for the County Assembly. We are greatly humbled for granting us a further opportunity to urge our case as before you. We do not take it for granted that the Senate creates time for that particular engagement. We are greatly humbled. And friend, Mr. Chergei, the Senator, I refer you to volume 4 index and description of the document that we have filed. At page 55, if honorable senators, you are with me, at page 55 of volume 4 of the bundles by the County Assembly, you find a notification of the impeachment motion dated 31st July. This notification was issued by Honorable Zipporah Kinya, MCA, and the Deputy Majority Leader. It was addressed to Her Excellency the Governor, Honorable Kawira. It was notifying her of the pending proceedings before the County Assembly. Of course, honorable senators, permit me to indicate to you that this was pursuant to Honorable Lady Justice Cherere findings in Meru's High Court in the first impeachment, that the respondent, who is a governor. Equally well, at page 56 of the same document, volume 4, Honorable Senator, my learned friend Mr. Chergei, page 4, volume 4, page 55, which you have just dealt with. We are now turning to page 56, where you find a letter from the County Assembly of Meru, the Office of the Speaker. The letter is dated 31st of July. The same is addressed to Her Excellency the Governor, Honorable Kawira. It's an invitation to respond and appear before the County Assembly for the removal from office of the Governor of Meru County pursuant to the motion. The same was prepared by the county, by Ayub Bundi, who is the Speaker, and it was duly seat by stamping on the said document 16 p.m. The same was supported by an affidavit of service. The first one is dated the 31st of July. Honorable Senators, you find that at page 59 of the same bundle. It is deponed by one Benson Kenywa Ngure, who is a duly licensed process server and equally an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. At paragraph 2, 3, 4, and 5, he deposes how he effected service at the office of the governor. Of most interest is paragraph 2, where he says that on the 31st July, Kawira Mwangaza, with the invitation to respond and appear before the county assembly, /1 volume 1/24, together with the hard copies of the late notice of motion by Honorable Zipporah Kina, seeking the removal from the office of the governor of Meru County by way of impeachment. That letter, Honorable Senators, referred thereto or therein is the letter that you find at page 56 of the said document. That is what Mr. Benson is deposing to have served. Equally well, Honorable Senators, at page 64 of the said document, you find another affidavit of service deposed by Joel Maitehia Mturukonga. He deposes at paragraph 2 that on the 31st July of the notice of motion for the removal from office of the governor of Meru County by impeachment from Zipporah Assembly of Meru with instructions to effect service upon her Excellency the governor of Meru County, Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, and the Speaker of the motion, the Speaker of the County Assembly. He says that he proceeded on the same day at around 4:17 p.m. at the office of the governor. I served the aforementioned document to Frida, the secretary to the governor, Meru County, by attending the copy there to her and recording her signature at my principal copy. This is clear evidence that there was effective service. The question is whether there was response and whether there was attendance from the deed. Second issue, whether there was communication, whether there was evidence that there was tabled to challenge the notice. There was no correspondence and all pleadings that was filed before our clients challenging or responding to the invitation and challenging the notice of impeachment. We are not aware of one. The impeachment motion at the county assembly went uncontroverted and unchallenged. As to the question of the Auditor General's report and whether it can form the basis of this impeachment, permit me to draw your attention to Article 10 of the Constitution, because that is a legal question. It lays down the national values and the principles of governance, which Article 10 provides that it binds all state organs, state officers. And in this case, we are applying the Constitution and then the written law. One of the principles is the principle of accountability and the principle of transparency, the principle of the rule of law, the principle of good governance. When you go to the article establishing the office of the Auditor General, the Auditor General comes in to scrutinize and to lay effect to the implementation of Article 10, whether there was accountability, whether there was transparency, whether the rule of law was followed in public expenditure. Again, that must be read together with Article 2 or 1 of the Constitution that provides and lays down the principles on how public resources must be expended. One of the overriding principles is that there must be prudent utilization of the resources. And number 2, Honorable Senators, is that when reading the Constitution, we must read it as a whole. Any article breathing life to the subsequent one. That is to mean, Honorable Senators, that if an office has been established by the Constitution, an office such as that of the Auditor General, it must be seen as a complementing office that is complementing the principles laid down under Article 10, pursuing the doctrine of transparency, the doctrine of accountability, the doctrine of the observation of the rule of law, the doctrine of good governance. That is to mean, Honorable Senators, when an issue has been raised in the...
Senator Christo, allow the council to conclude. Then yes, what is your issue, Senator Christo?
that we are moving into an area where the council is being allowed to re-prosecute his case by giving quite lengthy responses, and the rest of us have other clarifications we'd like to make. If it pleases the House Speaker and yourself, could the council be guided to just make his responses brief so that we can get through more clarifications and not to re-prosecute his case? I thank you.
Council for the County Assembly.
Yes.
If I was wondering what kind of question you're responding to, because the question by the Senator for Nandi has no relationship with the lengthy statement you're giving. Be precise, just go straight to what you've been asked to clarify. And I'm giving you 2 minutes to conclude that.
I'm well guided, Mr. Speaker. Sir, yes, the answer is yes. The Auditor General reports, because as under the time of the generation of that particular, it requires the County Assembly to debate. After debating, that does not mean that it disposes of or waives the County Assembly's responsibility of oversight. It can form the basis of impeachment, because an action must ensue and all follow from the findings of the county of the reports. It's not just a report that has to be done and be placed somewhere and gathers dust.
Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Approve. Mr. Speaker, and you know, just as a point, we have to move away from this Stone Age practice. I hope in the next impeachment process, unfair to the climate. Look at this, every senator will. Anyway, just a simple clarification, Mr. Speaker. Part of the documents I've spent a lot of time reading are documents from the public participation, because I wanted to hear what the people of Meru are saying, because this is about the people of Meru, Mr. Speaker. And I'd refer the Council for the Assembly to their document, Volume 5, this very huge, voluminous document before us. Mr. Speaker, the reason I did this is I just wanted to understand, and I'll be satisfied if the Council can even just point me to any of the documents they have presented, because it will help me to form a correct opinion. Because listening to the Council yesterday in his opening remarks, he alluded to, and this has been captured as part of the documents they presented on page 11, 1334, on views of members of the public coming up. I had the Council refer to it also yesterday, that the governor is allegedly behind disunity problem, especially amongst the leaders of Meru, and the efforts especially by Meru professionals during Cheke Council of Elders and the clergy seem not to bear any fruits. That doesn't concern me much, because, you know, at leaders level, Mr. Speaker, there are many reasons why we disagree. But as an exit to this problem, last time we made our conversation on this matter, Mr. Speaker, we had requested, just the last point, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, you have not more than 2 minutes to seek the clarification.
The 12th paragraph of that process is that the governor is alleged, paragraph 11, the governor is alleged to first feature prominently in their case and submissions. Is there any document that they can point out to us, Mr. Speaker, to confirm that indeed there have been efforts to do this, but the governor specifically frustrated them? I'd be satisfied even if just told, go to this document and see this. Thank you.
County Assembly, 1 minute.
Thank you very kindly, the Majority Leader. The voluminous document that you see contains the report and the analysis that came or accrued from the processes of the public participation. We have voluminous evidence where the members of the County Assembly say that yes, there has not been fruitful results from the process or initiated for reconciliation. Some of them are yet to give us the reports. For example, the Nchorencheke that you referred to is yet to give its findings as to the current existing status, whether there has been reconciliation or not. In any case, Mr. Speaker, sir, the public participation is quite different, and the views of the public are quite different from the views of perhaps of those who may be wanting to reconcile. And reconciliation efforts perhaps may also be evidenced by the fact that I've noted in Governor's response that individuals have even moved the President, His Excellency the President, to dissolve the Meru County. That is the indifference, that is a conundrum, whether it should then be dissolved or we should deal with the problem at hand. I'm most obliged.
Senator Olekena.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Briefly, I just need to seek some clarification from the Council, from the Assembly. Yesterday, when you were leading one of your witnesses, you alleged to the fact that the Governor had made a statement and said that that witness was given 86 million. The following things. One, whether there was only one, I refer to page 168 of volume 1B. There's an account number 075560442, which is also for the pay bill number 247247, which I believe is an Equity Bank. Whether you have that statement here. And then there was also a statement in the same page 168 that says that those donating from abroad should send to a number 0720103-913 if we have a statement to that effect. And then finally, on this issue of the Auditor General report, do you have, as per the Constitution, Article 229, subsection 8, it says that, it reads as follows: within 3 months after receipt of an audit report, findings, and took appropriate action so that we can be able to look into it? Or did you just take the Auditor General report and submitted it as part of your case? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Counter Assembly, 1 minute.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Speaker, sir. The witness who testified, one Irene, who is the window to the deceased, confirmed before the Assembly that there only existed one account, and as to whether the money that was being sent from abroad was ever uploaded to the same account. In her examination in chief, she pointed she led the House to the evidence that 115,000 shillings that had been divided at page 301 of volume 2, where all the money from that particular number, which was registered in the name of Judith, was eventually credited to the said account, and the credit is reflected as that of 115,000. And the number that was responsible for collecting of the 100,000 shillings, 1,015,000 shillings, appears on the Governor's bundle of document labeled as Volume 1B, at page 168, I beg your pardon, marked as KM20. The number is registered as that from number, that is 0720-103 statement at page 301. So all the money had one centralized mechanisms of management and only one pay bill. We'll be asking her to give evidence as to the whereabouts of the other millions when her time comes. As the question of the Auditor General, whether it has been debated, the same was generated on the 20th of June 2024, and the motion before the Assembly is dated 31st of July. Debate is yet to take effect at the County Assembly. But the question is, was there a transgression that was notified or noticed by a constitutional organ, and if yes, how do we proceed?
I've gone through the bundle,
and I don't see any evidence that feedback was provided to the people who gave their views on either why they were accepted or rejected. And this is a standard that has been set by the courts, that there must be feedback to those who present their views. It's not like a census or something. So can the Land Council point me to any part of the evidence they have where they complied with the standard on feedback, on public participation, so that what they have submitted, civil appeal number E003, thank you.
Proceed, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I must thank the Senator for Busia for the work done in contributing to the jurisprudence of this country, and especially the question of public participation, which is still a moot area, with a lot of jurisprudences emerging, a challenge that also faces perhaps most of the government organizations on how to initiate it and how to get a feedback. I must admit that this is a recent ruling, judgment of the Court of Appeal, which is barely a month old, and therefore, and actually it was delivered on the 31st of July this year, when the motion was already in the county assembly. So I believe that most of the organizations, including this Senate, is yet to adjust itself to meet the legal threshold as laid out by the Court of Appeal.
Senator Sige, you've answered the Council. Senator Sige.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Yesterday, Speaker, the Council, through his witness-in-chief, played some videos. My questions are as follows. There was one video that depicted a scene whereby it looks like it was said to be the home of the witness-in-chief, and somebody was pouring petrol and then torched a fence on that property. My question is, who took that video? Is there any evidence showing the owner of the device that took that video? Because in the evidence, the witness-in-chief, Speaker, said that the first person to have known that there was a fire on the property was the watchman who came running and then told others. So who took that video at that exact moment when the fire was when it was being torched? Second, Speaker, there was also two other videos where one, the witness-in-chief was doing a interview and spoke about dead cows. The second was a news report talking about a lack of service delivery in a hospital where a lady was made to give birth outside of a hospital. Speaker, I wanted to find out if there are any supporting affidavits, if there are any certified reports of the same two scenarios, which would give credence to the allegation of lack of service delivery in our batch of documentation. Lastly, on page 168, there is a number of an account, and I wanted to know whose it belongs to. It 0755. I forget the rest of the numbers. 60442. Can you please clarify whose that belongs to? Thank you.
County Assembly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The video that was played was captured by the CCTV footage at 3:48 a.m. It's evidence from the video supported by the affidavit of the mover, and the matter is still subject of these proceedings. The video on the evidence on the dead cows and the lack of services at the county government of Meru, the same is supported by the evidence and the affidavit of the mover annexed here too, and evidence has been laid in chief in that respect. And we have a certificate of electronic evidence produced in respect to that particular footage. On the question of the number, that is 07555604442, that is the number of the witness, or witness PW2, who happens to be